Hello and welcome to a Year 5 and 6 edition of Teach Time Maths. So today we're going to be learning how to multiply 4-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers using something called long multiplication. So I'm going to pick a random 4-digit number, and for that I'm going to do 4,200 and we'll go easy, 31. Now I need to pick a 2-digit number as well, so for that I'm going to just choose 26. Remember, when you do your column multiplication you want your units in the first column, or your tens in the next, and then your hundreds, and then your thousands. Because I'm multiplying 4 digits by 2 digits, these two spaces underneath aren't used. Once I've done my top bit, I just do a line to tell me that's the multiplication that I'm doing. Unlike addition, I'm not going to draw another line underneath here. I'm going to leave that for now, because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to forget that the 2 is even there. I'm going to times each number individually by the number 6. So this is where your times tables will come in handy. I know that 6 times 1 is 6. Now we're going to be timesing it by the 3. Now this time I don't need to worry about saying 6 times 30. I've already filled in my units column. So this time it's just going to be 6 times 3. Now, 2 6s are 12. So that means 12 add 6 is going to be 18. This time I put my 8 here, but I'm going to carry my 1. Now it's really important I don't forget that I've carried that 1 there. I need to remember to add it on at the next bit. So 6 times 2, we already said that's 12, so I would put a 2 here, but I've got a 1 to carry on from my 18 earlier on. So instead of 2, I do 2 add 1, and that's 3. And because it was 12 for 6 times 2, I'm going to carry over my 1. So that just leaves me with timesing 6 by 4. But when I times my 6 by 4, I need to remember I've still got my 1 to carry. Now, 6 times 4, it's just double 12. We just did that a second ago, that 6 times 2 is 12. So I've just got to double that number to get 6 times 4. So I know that it's going to be 24. But I need to add my 1. So I'm going to extend my line here. So I've got a 2 to carry on for my 24. And I need to do 4 add 1, which we all know is 5. And I just need to remember to write my 2 here. I don't have any number to times by 6 here, so I just need to put my 2 down there. Now, on the line underneath this one, we're going to be timesing everything by the 20. Now, timesing things by 20 can be a bit tricky, so I'm just going to add a 0 here. This means that now, instead of timesing everything by 20, I've just got to times it all by 2. This 0 means that I can just times it by 2. If you want, you don't have to put a 0. You could just put an arrow to remind you that this first column, all it will be when you add it up will just be this first number. I prefer the 0 though, but it's your choice. So now I start off with 2 times 1. Fairly easy again. 2 times 1 we all know is 2. Now 2 times 3. You'll notice when I'm writing the answers, they're going one column over from this first one. This was the units timesing. If you have a look, 2 times 1, it was in the units column, but I've put it over here in the tens. That is because we've pushed it over, remember? So that way we aren't trying to times by 20. So we're doing 2 times 3. Now 2 times 3, again, a pretty quick and easy multiplication. We should know these things by heart. Don't worry if you don't yet. Try and practice your times tables later on today. Maybe get your mums or dads or brothers or sisters or anyone who's around to give you a quiz on some of your times tables. So I know that 2 times 3 is 6. That's one of my multiplication facts I can just pick out of my head. So moving on, we've done 2 times 3, so we're on to 2 times 2. Again, another quick and easy multiplication I can just pick out of my head. 2 times 2 is 4, which just leaves me with 2 times 4. It's a quick and easy one again, 2 times tables, just doubling the number up here, so I know that double 4 is 8. Now, here comes the next stage. We're not going to times these numbers like before, we're going to be adding them. Some of you may have done this in school already. If you have, fantastic. This is just a bit more of a recap for you. If you haven't, this is the next stage of long multiplication. So instead of trying to times all of these numbers together and get really stuck and try and get it in your head, it can get really complicated. So I've just split it up into 2 easy additions here. Now, I don't know if any of you have done column addition at school. I've just done it with my class the other week. So when we do column addition, all we do is we're adding each column like this. And like we did with the times tables, if I've got one to carry on, I've just got to move it on and make a little reminder at the bottom to add it on again. But I'll go through it with you now. So 6, add nothing, or if you've got the arrow there, it's still adding nothing. So it will be 6. Now, 8, add 2. If you're really good at your number bonds, you'll know that 8 and 2 make 10. So I don't have any units this time, I've just got a 0 there. And so I'm going to carry my 1. I need to remember to add this 1 in a second. 3, add 6. Now again, pretty quick and easy calculation. We just do 6, count on 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then I've got my 1 more to add on, so it will make 10 again. So I do a 0 here, and I do a 1 underneath. Now again, we seem to have a lot of these number 9s. I've got a 5 up here, and I add 4. I know that makes 9. So I've got a 1 to add on as well. So instead of it being 9 here, I'm going to put a 0 and carry on my 1. Now, 2 add 8. We did this earlier on just here. 2 add 8, we know that makes 10. But this time, we've got a 1 to add on. So I do 1, and then I've carried my 1 over here from the 10, and I add it on at the bottom. So 4,231 times 26 equals 110,006. You can check these on your calculators. You can try and do estimating. That'll be a further video that I'll do later on to practice estimating to know whether or not we've got the answer right. But for now, that is the answer you should come up with. Okay, let's try another one. So this one, when we add it here, this is called regrouping. This is called carrying it on to the next stage. So let's try another one together. I'm going to give you a moment to pause, do the calculation yourself, and then afterwards I'll just explain the answer step by step, okay? So this time I'm going to have the number 2,164 times, remember to add in this symbol, it's really important that you don't forget to add in your multiplication symbol, times, I'm going to stick with a 20 again, I quite like having a 20 there, but this time I'm going to have a 4. If you're not so good at your 4 times table, maybe write your 4 times table down the side to help you. If you have a look up here, I'm not really going to need to know my 4 times table beyond number 6, okay? So remember, you will have your first lot of numbers here for your 4 timesing 1 by 1, and then you need to add a 0 or an arrow forward if you'd like for your 2 times, and then write them down here step by step. If it helps, you can even do little lines here to remind you where each column should be. Okay, so I've got my units, my tens, my hundreds and my thousands, and sometimes we even get to the tens of thousands, or even up here, the hundreds of thousands. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to get you to pause the video even, right now, and then you can have a go at this yourself and I'll go through it with you in a second. Okay, so let's do this first times table. So we need 4 times 4. 4 fours, I know this, it should be one of the ones you should remember. 4 fours are 16, so I'm going to put my 6 here and I'm going to carry my 1 into this next column. Now I'm going to do 4 times 6. Now if you're not so good at your times tables, what you could do is, if you know your 5 times table, 5 times 6 is 30. All I'm going to do is take away another 6 to get to 4 times 6. So that would give me 24. So I need to add on a 1 though, so instead of 24 I'm going to be 1 more than that, it's going to be 25. So I'm going to carry 2 this time and put my 5 down here. 4 times 1, we all know our 1 times table, it will be 4, but I've got to carry my 2, so 2 more than 4, 4 add 2 is 6. And last but not least, 4 times 2, just double the number 4, we all know that's 8. So 4 times 2,164 equals 8,656. Now for the 20. I've already put in my 0 here, remember to do that at home. So I don't need to worry about doing 20 times the number, I just have to do 2 times. So 2 times 4, we just did this a second ago, we all know is the number 8. We've just got to double our 4 here. 2 times 6, again, we're just doubling the number 6. This time I am carrying my 1 for the 12. 2 times 6 is 12. I like to do a line down here so I'm not confusing it. So I'm going to carry the 1 at the bottom this time so I know it's for the bottom number and not the top. Otherwise you might get a little bit confused and mix up which numbers you're carrying. So 2 times 6 is 12. Oh, wrong column there. So I do my 2 here for the 12 and I've carried my 1. Just ignore that 1 there, that's me. Now 2 times 1, all we're doing is the 1 times table, we know that that's 2 and we're going to add our 1 here to make 3. And last but not least, 2 times 4, 2 twos are 4. So we know that our last column is going to be a 4. Now we're going to add these ones together. So 6 times 6 add 0. So 6 add 0 is 6. 5 add 8, I'm going to have to remember to carry for this one. So 5 add 8 is 13. So I'm going to put my 1 up here and I'm going to write my 3 in. 6 add 2, I know that that's 8. I'm going to use my 1 that I've carried to make 9. 8 add 3, I'm going to have to carry again because I know that 8 add 3 is 11. So I'm going to carry my 1. And 4 add my 1 is 5. So the answer to what is 2,164 times 24 is 51,936. Okay, so if you want to make it a little bit clearer for yourself, you can then write the times table out next to it. So 2,164 times 24 equals 51,936. So now's a chance for you to try this at home. So come up with a 4-digit number. If you've got a dice at home, maybe you could roll it 4 times and come up with a 4-digit number. And then you could roll it again to come up with a 2-digit number. Here, I've come up with the numbers, I'll just write them down. I've come up with the number 1,256 times 25. Now, when you were writing this, you would write it with real numbers. You wouldn't do what I've done with the dice here. That's just to explain it to you. So yours would look a little bit more like this. Always remember to keep those good columns. I know some of you might not have maths paper at home, but that doesn't mean that you should stop using your squares. If it helps, you can draw lines like this to keep you on the same line, because otherwise you might have a mistake and start accidentally writing numbers in the wrong place. Now that would be very confusing, because that would look like 1256 times 205, and then we definitely have something going wrong there. So it's now over to you. Have a go at this dice game, see what you can come up with at home. Maybe challenge your parents or your siblings or anyone who's around to give you some random numbers and see if you can do the multiplication for them. Good luck, and remember, don't practice too long on this. 10-15 minutes should be absolutely more than enough time.